Boom, and we are live. Hello, everyone. We are in Nashville, Tennessee, live from the Ord compound. And today, for the very first interview of Nashville, I'm joined with Damon. What's going on, Damon? You want to introduce yourself and tell them who you are, what you're working on?
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having us, by the way.
Oh,
So my name is Damon Nam. I'm the founder and CEO of Orange, and we have an ecosystem of products and services just built on Bitcoin.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, well, let's just dive right in because I got to say, you've been in Bitcoin for a while here, and so it's... How long has Orange been around?
For a year and a half.
A year and a half. And then when did you first join like the Bitcoin ecosystem?
So a little bit before that. So I've been a builder in this space as a founder for the last 7 years. Mainly started off on Ethereum and EVMs.
Okay, gotcha.
So really focused on that. But for the past, I would say probably 3 years, jumped over and really focused on the Bitcoin ecosystem, and then started Orange about a year and a half ago.
Okay, so that's interesting. So, a lot of times we hear people, they start Bitcoin,
right,
and then they go with Ethereum.
Yeah.
You went Ethereum, Bitcoin. So what made you switch over?
Yeah, so, I joined, first I started off in corporate. Immediately following college, I worked at Microsoft 17 years. And then from there, recruited a really good friend of mine that also worked at Microsoft, saw some problems that were in the blockchain industry that we thought were interesting to solve. We jumped in at around 2017.
Okay, nice. Okay.
Yeah, so this is where all the hype was happening around
Totally.
ICOs
Yes.
and all this stuff. And Ethereum,
So you've been to war, that means. That's
yeah, exactly. And Ethereum was what was very popular at the time, right? Especially with everything that was being built there. And then a few years later, we had DeFi Summer on Ethereum. So that was kind of our thesis and what we thought was going to be kind of the future of finance because of all the things you can do with smart contracts and creative solutions that were being built with the help of blockchain. From there, over the years, what we started to see then was obviously institutional adoption with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And, we started thinking about this and found that, okay, now governments are starting to adopt it. Institutions and companies are starting to adopt it as a treasury reserve, right, asset. And then all these applications for ETFs. And so we started thinking to ourselves, okay, well, with all the attention on the gold standard, which is exactly why this industry started, everything that was previously built, we believe could be brought to Bitcoin.
Totally.
And so with that, we went all in on Bitcoin and then started building solutions for it because we think, especially with all the energy and momentum that's going on right now, obviously.
I mean, we're in Nashville, and it's like the hype is unreal.
Crazy,
like it's
right?
Yeah. 2 years ago, if I would have told people like this many of my friends are this excited about Bitcoin, they would have been like, "What?
Right.
Aren't you like ETH boys?" And it's like, it's crazy right now.
And the crazy thing is, we're still early.
Oh, totally,
right?
totally, yeah.
So even though the industry is mature and we've been around for over a decade now, the energy and momentum around Bitcoin is still early. Bitcoin as a reserve asset is still early. The solutions around Bitcoin, super early.
Totally.
And the world adoption, what they estimate is less than 5% for crypto in general. So
yeah, so actually you did a path that I've seen quite a few people take, which is you work at like a large corporate company, maybe your FANG company, and then you grab another employee, you say, okay, let's go. We're going to go start our own thing. What was the attitude inside Microsoft around crypto stuff? Was there like a gang of people who are like, Microsoft, come on, Balmer, let's get this in there? Or was it shunned? Or were you exploring it at all?
Well, at that time, so I got into Bitcoin about 2013, but just as a hobby, right? Started exploring mining and things like that. And for between 2013 and the time I left, there wasn't really much discussion around crypto or blockchain in general. So as a company, I don't think, especially not just Microsoft, but companies in general, I don't think people really looked at the technology as a potential solution. And I think it wasn't until maybe 2017, 2019, you started seeing companies, because of the attention that it got, started to look into it.
Well, they were starting to say, wait a minute, we did regular VC rounds. What's an ICO?
Right.
How?
Exactly.
Oh my God, it took me years to finish due diligence. You guys did what? Which good and bad, ICO. Yeah.
Right. And as a business or a government, when you see this much liquidity being injected to an industry, then it starts to raise eyebrows.
Totally.
Right. And then that's when we started hearing about even JP Morgan start to get into the space.
Yeah.
And now every large corporation has some sort of organization or department that's focused on blockchain.
I've seen BlackRock's holdings. You know what I mean? I've been, every company. Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing that I'm really curious about, because since you were building first on ETH,
Yeah.
and you got smart contracts, we're doing stuff in Solidity. Yeah. You go over to Bitcoin, it's a little bit of like a step backward in what tools you have. So like, what was that like? What was it? Yeah. What were the challenges?
So from a tech perspective, it's extremely challenging because there's so many limitations on what you can do. But it's a trade-off, right? Because Bitcoin is the most secure blockchain available. But then the trade-off is it's pretty gated in terms of the functionality and what you can actually do.
Yeah.
I often compare it to what the experience is with Apple and Android. Mm-hmm. Android is more open. It's more open source as compared to Apple, which is much more controlled and gated in terms of its functionality. But at the same time, Apple was very great with how secure the environment is, right? And the experience, not just the environment, but the experience, because they want it to be consistent amongst all their apps and all that stuff as well. So I see it kind of very similar to how Ethereum and Bitcoin interact.
Yeah.
I think there's a space in this world for both, no different from how Android and Apple kind of compete within the mobile phone space. But when it comes to certain attributes and the way that we want to interact, whether it's payments or maybe a reserve currency or a store of value, each one of these has its own place. So from a tech perspective, it was limited. From a business perspective, and the reason why I love being a builder in this space, it's fun because you got to get creative.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to start thinking about, okay, well, how can I leverage, or what solutions can we make when things are very limited, or what experiences can we transform and really get creative upon? And as a builder, being able to kind of brainstorm and be creative around.
Yeah, it's funny. Really people don't realize like limitations are actually, it's for a lot of creative people, they help a ton. You say 100%. You can't do these things, and all of a sudden it's like, I would have never thought of this. Right. You say you can do anything you want, and you're like, I don't know what to do. Like, yeah, it's a little rough.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of curious. So since you did go from like the ETH to the Bitcoin, do you still interact with any ETH stuff? You still do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. In fact, we just deployed a new product called our Orange Bridge. And what it allows people to do, we started off with BRC20s, but allows people to be able to bridge over to ERC20.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah. And so we're going to be opening up pretty soon for Bitcoin, all of other Bitcoin meta protocols such as Runes, et cetera.
Okay.
And then what we want to do is expand it to other EVMs, so Binance Smart Chain, Polygon, et cetera.
So that's interesting. So because I got to study. There's wars going on right now in Nashville, right? There's BRC20 gangs.
We got
to
whisper, right? Like
there's the two. I've seen fights happen outside. People are it's
right.
The BRC20 versus Runes. It's funny. It's an interesting mix between the two.
Yeah.
How do you look at, like, do you just say build for everyone, or do you ever have to say like, okay, like Runes, maybe we're gonna focus on BRC20s because there's more liquidity there, or how do you choose to say we got to build for Runes now?
Yeah, well, and that's a great question. And the way that we approach it is a few different ways. From a business perspective, what makes sense for us as a business? What can we monetize? What's going to get us enough traction, users, et cetera?
Yeah.
At the same time, we want to be able to support builders in this entire industry. And so when we see liquidity or we see traction or hype around a certain area, we tend to chase that as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's so funny because at the end of the day, we see kind of these cultish cliques amongst not just these meta protocols with BRC20s, Runes, but then you have Bitcoin maxis, then you have ETH maxis.
Yes.
And the irony here is we're all one team, right? We're all one. The blockchain industry is literally trying to combat against traditional finance.
Yeah.
We're all on the same team. And if we can actually extend the functionality and the capability and adoption of blockchain in general, we've all won.
Yeah.
Right. So I always find it funny to see people going back and forth on that.
Totally. I gotta say, I do indulge. I literally go onto the Bitcoin forums and I just want to read all the maxis. Like when Ordinals came out, I couldn't stop reading them being like, it's an attack on Bitcoin. Yeah. And I'm just like eating it up like, this is so entertaining. But at the same time, for Ordinals, you saw like so many people who weren't interested in Bitcoin did come over. And then a bunch of them ended up saying like, dude, fuck ETH. There's a bunch of good stuff over here. Actually, I do just want to stack sats here. So it's like, there's always doors into stuff, through stuff.
And I'm sure you've seen even early on a lot of the noise around, Luke, one of the
of course
developers, till this day, he still doesn't support a lot of the Bitcoin meta protocols because he thinks it's just congesting the network.
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it's always great to
Yeah, yeah.
build on that.
Luke is always an entertaining read. You know,
Yeah.
some people here are like, he's my enemy. I'm like, he's provided me hours of entertainment.
Yeah.
So it's a little, the
Yeah.
conversations are intense. You got to like divorce him from your own backs. You know,
Right.
if you got all your money in ordinals and reading what he writes is scary. But
Yeah.
actually, so like when something like BRC20 happens, how fast are you saying, okay, we're looking at this now, we should incorporate it, right? When runes were like announced, were you like right away like, team? Or do you like wait a minute for it to matriculate?
We wait a bit. So, you know, I love this space because it's so fast, and it's great to kind of immerse yourself and try to be first to adopt certain things. At the same time, though, I think there's some inherent risk where a lot of this technology is experimentation.
Yep.
And when that happens, you have to be kind of cautious, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with people's funds,
Yep.
hard-earned money.
Yes.
So for us, we tend to take a little bit more conservative approach on some of these, and just we do our own due diligence, our own research. We investigate and make sure, okay, is this mature enough for us to be able to offer to our own users? Because at the end of the day, we have liability to our own users as well. So
100%.
yeah, we like to wait till things mature a little bit, let other people test the waters, but try to balance that out so that we can actually be a leader on the forefront of some of this experimentation as well.
Actually, I'm kind of curious too, because since you seem to travel around a bit,
Yeah.
what's your like opinion of where are you finding like new markets and customers? Is it because I'm pretty focused in the U.S. truthfully, because I live here, so I don't always hear about it. But then I talk to some of my friends. I've been hearing like BRC20s in Asia. They love them there. Yeah. And then I talked to some of my friends who were there. They go, "Oh yeah, we're crazy for them." And then I was like, do you guys like runes?" They were like, "No." And I was like, "Why?" I can't tell. Yeah. Like, what have you been finding? Are the markets like around the world have like different flavors or?
Yeah. And you know what? It's so interesting because, you know, when we tend to think about blockchain, and especially myself, I was born in the States, right? And so when I've stayed in this bubble, you kind of always think naturally blockchain and the majority of the transactions and all this energy is just kind of within this bubble within the US. But the reality is it's not, right? It's the whole premise and point of blockchain and making this cross-border and global. Yeah. And so as I've traveled around, I mean, the same energy that's happening here at Bitcoin conference in Nashville, you know, there's events and things, a lot of energy happening around, particularly in Asia as well, right? So whether you're in Dubai or Singapore or in Hong Kong.
I'm hearing about Singapore a lot these days.
Absolutely. And Hong Kong just had an event a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah, totally. I had friends that went to that. Exactly. I meant to go.
Yeah. And there's even rumors about them unbanning crypto coming up. So, you know, it's already wildly popular, and we're finding the same interest globally around all these other pockets of countries and stuff. Totally.
So, yeah, kind of curious, since you, when you make products like in crypto, often you are making like global products. How do you have to keep up with like different laws and regulations? Or do you just pick some countries you're like, okay, you guys aren't going to give us any clarity. We're going to focus on someone who will.
That's exactly what we do, right? So we do, compliance is very big for us, and to the extent to where there's jurisdictions that just don't support it, we just don't mess with, right? And we specifically try to exclude them to the most that we can, both from a legal and a technology perspective, whether it's like banning IP addresses or whatever the case may be. But yeah, we tend to take a more conservative approach on that as well, because I like to sleep well at night. Totally. and you know, having governments and, you know, legal issues is not part of what we're interested in.
Well, I'm laughing. I have some friends that it's a joke. Every time there's an airdrop, they go, 1 minute, going to Mexico to collect my airdrop. All right, I'm back.
Right.
Quick little flight back. You know, it's like, which is a little, it's crazy that we're in an industry where we.
But you know what, though? I mean, everyone's sophisticated enough in the industry now to be able to work around a lot of that.
Totally.
And so as a company, we do everything to make sure we're compliant. Users get around the system.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, it's always cat and mouse. Like you're never gonna get.
100%.
Yeah,
right?
it's like someone saying, I built a system that no hacker can get into. I'm like, you just got every hacker just rubbing their hands like I'm gonna get you now. Right. So so since you are building like DeFi products, I'm always curious to ask people like, who would you tell is a person like who doesn't know about DeFi why they should care? Right, because I feel like a lot of us, we're like, you know, either you're like a finance nerd or you're an investor of some sort, you're a day trader or a pretend day trader, and so DeFi makes sense. But there's others who are like, what are you even talking about? Like, you're talking about decentralized finance. I don't worry about finance. I got, you know.
Yeah, well, and this is always interesting because, you know, most of my friends are not in crypto at all. Yeah. Right? And so when they're trying to understand this part of the business or even what I do, it's always interesting because you always have to start off with this conversation of why even use blockchain, right? So for us, the conversation generally evolved around use cases, how it could help you, and not just be a speculative asset.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's the purpose of DeFi, is to be able to extend functionality, right? Totally. Interoperability, scalability, performance, and all that stuff. And so, typically we try to move away from the whole speculation type of conversation because everyone knows that. And at the end of the day, this industry has kind of been built off of that.
Yeah.
But now we have use cases where we're actually building functionality so that people can utilize and do creative things with their assets. And so, for us, it's always kind of helping them understand, okay, well, these are the general use cases that can help you from traditional finance, right? And being your own custodian, sovereign wealth, where you can actually manage your own assets. I mean, one of the strongest use cases I've been able to show as an example, was being able to send while in air on internet, Wi-Fi on a plane, send a significant amount of funds,
yes,
to someone across the country
totally,
while I'm on the plane, right?
Yeah.
And it transactions confirm very, very quickly.
Totally, yeah.
And to be able to do that with traditional finance would have been more expensive and taken much longer and had to been reviewed and all that stuff.
I'm laughing at people don't realize right now. It's like once you start dealing with larger amounts of money, things are way different. You're like, no, I got Venmo, and he goes, cool, transfer more than $3,500.
Exactly.
And then you're like, oh shit, I can't. And you're like, yeah.
Right, exactly. So, and then once you have people start to realize those use cases, how powerful it is, and how you're basically managing yourself without any type of intervention, it becomes very strong and very easy to have that conversation.
Totally. So how do you tell if there's someone like new who's like, okay, this is interesting, it's a little over my head?
Yeah.
That's one of the problems because I've have some random friends that'll be like, they'll come to our circle and they're like, you're speaking another language.
Sure.
There's so many things. I don't even know where to get started.
Yeah.
How do you help someone get educated to get started in this world? If someone was like, okay, I want to learn about Bitcoin, I want to learn DeFi on Bitcoin, where's an entry point you can say look at this?
Sure. Yeah, it's so interesting because when we try to have those conversations, you find out people don't even understand what money is or traditional finance, right? Like interest and yield and all that stuff. And so oftentimes when we start talking about DeFi on anything, not just Bitcoin, people are generally like, oh, I didn't even know you could do this in traditional finance.
Yep.
And so generally it kind of starts off with that, and then it evolves into, okay, well, now you can do it with these type of solutions. You can earn even better yield, or you're actually depositing your funds, you're managing it, and all those type of things. And then that's where it starts to become kind of a more meaningful conversation, is when people understand that they're driving everything, right? It's underneath their control and whatnot.
Totally.
Yeah, that's generally how we typically start.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was gonna say, if you don't understand what you're trying to decentralize in the first place, it's hard to get the concepts.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you already mentioned, runes and BRC20s, and we're talking DeFi stuff here. Gotta ask though, how do you guys look at the whole ordinal space?
Here's our belief. So BRC20s, runes are great. BRC 20 2.0 is coming out. In fact, Domo's here at the conference.
I'll be talking to him today.
Yeah, dope. So, and we truly believe there's going to be tons of more Bitcoin meta protocols that have different functionality. In fact, we're doing a little bit of experimentation ourselves as a company.
Nice.
We're also working on it. There's already tons of other layer 2s and things out there. And so, we try to look at everything holistically. We love ordinals. We think that what's been achieved has been great for the space, great for adoption exposure. But right now there's some kid or some developer out there right now working on another meta protocol or variant of ordinals that'll pop out. So as much as we love everything that's been built to date, we try not to just get too narrow and hung up on any particular technology, because of the mere fact that we love to be able to support anything that's happening in this space. And who knows, before end of year, there's probably going to be 10 more meta protocols that launch, right?
Yeah, it's even hard. When ordinals first came out, it was the adoption was pretty crazy. It got pretty crazy pretty fast. And then all of a sudden, BRC20s, then runes, it's you think it's going to stop? You think we're just going to stop making things? No. Builders build.
No, exactly. Builders build. And in blockchain, there's always a new meta.
Yeah, totally, 100%.
Right?
Yeah. So actually, speaking of that, as someone who is a builder, what's it like hiring in this industry?
Oh man, it's so tough. It's so tough. I don't think people understand how difficult it is to run and build a company in this space. Because as we were talking about earlier, as soon as you join blockchain, you're a global company.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Time zones mean nothing.
Yes.
And people in blockchain are the most demanding.
I was about to say, they mean nothing, and they will tell you,
Right.
what the hell, you're sleeping?
Exactly. They want instant gratification. Humans in general want instant gratification. And you then support everyone from Asia Pacific all the way to US or whatever the case may be. But finding talent is even much more difficult. Because not only is the pool small, especially in Bitcoin, it's even smaller than on Ethereum.
Well, Ethereum, they were building up developers for years, and it attracted me as a developer. It was programmable smart money. I program. I like money.
Exactly.
And so,
And there's way more Solidity developers than there are builders in the Bitcoin space. And so it's extremely competitive just in the industry alone. But then as a startup, not only you competing against other companies that are building, now you're competing against all the giants.
Well, totally.
Right? And as a startup, it's very challenging to offer enticing packages when you're also competing against the Metas of the world, or the Googles of the world, right? So it's extremely hard to find good talent, attract them, hire them, and it's always a challenge for us. Luckily, because I've been in the industry for quite some time and worked at Microsoft for quite some time, I have a good network, of people that I can easily get referrals to for good talent. So that's certainly how.
The best way to be able to hire someone is you've worked with someone else before and done work, and they're like, no, they actually get work done. They're not. I mean, a lot of builders, it's like, I'm building the company on Bitcoin. I'm like, what have you done before? It's like, don't worry about that. Like, you're scaring me a little bit.
And this space has so many people that are undoxed.
Yes.
Right. So
it's I'm talking to cat profile photos, and I don't know. They're developing or doing something for me.
Right. Exactly.
Actually, I say conferences. This is one of the best times to actually meet all these people. It's wild. I have talked to people that 2 years I've been on Twitter Spaces with them or in Discord chats, and then you meet them first time, and they always look different than what you think. They're always a different human.
No, but that's why I love events like this, and then being able to connect with groups and teams like you guys, because at the end of the day, especially to be able to grow this space in this industry, you have to be able to connect. And this industry is built on trust. And so, as you said, I've spent months speaking with a lot of different people, and to be able to actually meet them in one forum in one go, this is one of the reasons why I like to come to these conferences.
Totally. Yeah. We'll see if I can leave this room and talk to anyone else other than people. No. One-on-one's actually good. This is actually a good way to actually learn a little bit deeper too.
Absolutely.
So another thing I'm actually curious, because we've been seeing a meta happen for quite a while around companies trying to get adoption through offering incentives that are going to lead to an airdrop.
Sure.
And I have some friends who are like, I made it all. And then others who said, I found out I worked a job for 50 cents an hour for the past 2 months. Like, how do you feel because you want people on your platform?
Sure.
Like, how do you feel about that meta? How do you entice people over there? How do you feel about giving airdrops out?
Yeah, this is a great question because our team has actually been going back and forth on this, right? So we've released a number of different products, including our premier product, which is a wallet. And so one of the strategies we've been thinking about is in order to acquire users, similar to other companies, right? So you incentivize them through a campaign of maybe quest or objectives, and then they earn a reward being a token. And other companies have done this. We've seen it be successful in helping them acquire users and whatnot. But then there's this back-end expectation of this asset that you just airdrop to go up in value as well. So it's like, how do you manage that, those goals, and then how do you manage a community that's expecting that particular asset to go up when your main focus is kind of product-driven, but now you have this other asset that you might have to nurture and all this other stuff, right? So for us, we haven't really decided what our direction is on it. But as a whole in the industry, what I've tended to see is airdrops are a great way to kind of draw exposure and get people into your ecosystem. But it's very dangerous after that. Because I haven't seen an airdrop, especially a chart for a token, that has gone up.
Yeah, totally.
So typically, in life in general, when you're given something for free, you value it less.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you didn't have to work for it.
100%.
And then these airdrops just equate to instant seller pressure.
Well, that's the problem, because there's that people are saying, here's my payday.
Yeah.
So if they're saying it's my payday, you have to sell it.
Yeah.
So there's
exactly.
this issue, and then
Right.
it's tough. I'm always wondering too. The problem is, if you put an incentive out there, people are going to manipulate it no matter what. You say do quest, someone will say, I hired 100 people on Fiverr to do the quest 24 hours a day,
Exactly.
and now I'm going to make money. And like, it's cat and mouse again. You're always going to be fighting with it.
Yeah, and I always refer back to one of the largest airdrops that happened. If we look at ApeCoin,
Oh yes,
for example, right?
That was a good one.
And they're one of the largest notable companies in our space.
Yes,
that is venture backed and has received tons of money.
The most.
They have a great community, and the token has just not performed because there's more unlocks and all this other stuff. And so I think it's a really kind of dangerous space to play in.
Totally.
I like the idea of it, but
well, it's tough when like where you're coin. I was early ape. I got that. I got the ape airdrop. It was a crazy night. I was on Discord with my friends, and we're like, it actually was real money. Yeah. It actually worked. But then after it was done, it was like, what else can you do with the coin? And literally, for a while, they're the only thing to do it. And I had friends. We actually went and did this. I didn't buy them. You can go to Gucci, and you could buy things with ApeCoin. Actually, you actually could, and I don't think they do it anymore.
Right.
It took forever to do. It was like 3 hours in the Gucci store to buy a pair of socks, because no one was literally like, all the employers were like, they trained on it. They pulled one nerd from the back. I guess I know how it works. And like we were there like 3 hours, but it's just not enough. It's not gonna like make it go up. And then if you're waiting for a game, there's so much time. Like like you said, we get bored quickly, and you look at something in your wallet, you go, this is going down, that's going up.
Exactly.
Buy ApeCoin, and so
yeah. And so when that dynamic happens, it's kind of tough to see how these type of models can be successful long term.
Yeah.
Right? If a company like Ape, Board Ape Yacht Club,
Yuga
can't pull off successfully, there's a lot of risk to all these other smaller ones.
Yeah, so I'm kind of curious too. Then, as a builder, how do you feel about, because there's people who also will do various types of launches to raise money. I mean, you can launch an NFT, and it can be a fundraising. You can launch a token; it can be a fundraiser. Right. You could do a pre-sale, or you can go the more traditional VC backing route here. And there's like obviously advantage and disadvantage to each one here.
Sure.
One is if you do something for your community, you've got a bunch of angry degens yelling at you. On the other hand, you have VCs who have a lot of money and a lot of investments, and they don't care if 9 out of their 10 investments go down.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. Like, how do you guys look at that? Do you guys think about, like, for VC stuff, what are like the risk taking it on? How do you find the right ones?
Yeah. So, the thing I love about this space is it's provided an alternative means to be able to fundraise.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas traditionally, let's say 10 years ago, if you were a startup trying to enter any type of space, the only route that you could take is through VCs. Yeah. And now being able to have this type of asset class that allows you to reach out and decentralize it and have it community backed and owned, I think is huge. So I love it for that fact. The fact that as a founder, as a builder, you have the option. You can take either route that you want. You can go VC backed, you can seed it yourself, or you can have it community driven. With that said, I think, as I look at it, when I look at a lot of these opportunities and projects, it's all about scale. So if you're building something of significance and value, that's going to take a lot of resources. Yeah. It's better to get VCs involved, because now you also have smart money that can provide some sort of intellectual capital that can help you.
VCs have connections. People don't realize that. Rich people have connections.
Right, right, exactly. So not only do you have access to the network, you have them as advisors, people you can lean on and things like that. And if you're building something significant, such as a L1, L2, whatever, you're going to need capital. You're going to need resources. You're going to need people that are experienced, have gone through the trenches, and can help you through that process. Now, if you're launching a meme token, right? Maybe something without no utility, you don't need a VC involved. Right? Have it community driven, owned by the majority of the community. And then,
or this is going to be the biggest meme token of all time. A16Z finally comes out, and we have a mark, $ mark. Okay, that'll work, and that'll okay. I don't think they would do that.
I thought you had some alpha for us.
No. It's coming. It's coming.
Right.
Light speed, $. Light.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch, that'll be the next meta. Okay, after cute animals, everyone's going to do fake VC tokens. Just pick any of them and just.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. We just saw the celebrity.
Yeah, the celebrity meta.
Token. Yeah, meta happened.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some sort of VC meta token.
Yeah,
Whatever.
the only thing is I think the VCs would come and squash that, right?
Exactly,
The celebs were like a
legally.
little bit of quick money.
Right.
The VCs will be like, no, you're not using my name for
Right,
that. Yeah.
right, yeah.
Yeah. Actually, so speaking of that, because it is always funny, we talk to like hardcore actual builders, building stuff, technical. And on the other hand, there's the most insane casino happening 24/7, right? The meta's changing every day. It's the political meta to the cute meta to the whatever, every single meta. How do you keep up with that? Or do you try, like, is it just, do you try and keep up with it? Or is it just something that's in the ecosystem so you just kind of know?
No, I do personally as well. Because at the end of the day, I love this industry for what it represents, right? The whole aspect of freedom and decentralization and sovereign wealth. And I love all of this degen activity. I love experimentation. I love breaking rules and things like that, right? And so, I myself, I mean, behind closed doors, I'm a degen as well. And I like to be able to, mix in with the best of them. And so, I've aped in on some memes and stuff in the past. I don't do it often.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, share the tickers. No,
I have some NFTs, both on Ethereum side, Solana and some ordinals. Yeah, you have to stay abreast of what's going on. If you want to be a trailblazer in this industry, you can't be disconnected from it.
Totally.
You can't be disconnected from the community. You can't be disconnected from the builders and what's going on and all that stuff. So,
totally. Yeah, you don't want to sit in your ivory tower looking down on the degens. You want to know, what are you guys doing? You don't have to gamble, but at least know what's happening down there.
Right? And you can always tell who's a true builder and who's trying to do things that are net positive for this space versus someone that's just in it for the quick money.
Totally.
Just in 5 minutes of conversation.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the extractors. You'll meet a couple here this weekend.
Yeah.
You'll meet the best builders here and a couple extractors.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So one thing I'm curious too. So you made the move to Dubai.
Yeah.
Give me the pitch. Why should I move there?
Oh man. So the ecosystem from a blockchain perspective is growing very, very quickly. Right. Not only are there some of the largest conferences that are there annually, but at the same time, you have a progressive government that is very future forward thinking in every aspect of the world, right? Whether it's energy, whether it's finance or whatever. So there's already regulatory frameworks that are built to be able to help support builders in the blockchain ecosystem, which is always great as a builder. On top of that, it's a great lifestyle. You have obviously some of the greatest attractions and entertainment in the world there.
I'm just afraid to go because I don't have a Bugatti. I'm scared. I see I'm like, I'm not rich enough for this place.
There's extreme wealth there, but what people don't realize is there's a lot of poverty.
Oh, really?
So a lot of immigrants that have come from countries such as like Indonesia, Philippines, India, and labor is extremely cheap. And so there's this other aspect of Dubai, which is not marketed.
No, totally.
But if you kind of go outside the city, I mean, there's places that are very poor.
Really? Oh, wow.
And so the cost of living is kind of balanced. You can actually have a very affordable life in Dubai. A lot of people don't see it, but it's very manageable because even real estate, there's more supply than there is demand. So you can get a condo and for a reasonable price and stuff like that. But then there's also financial benefits, taxes, and all this. So yeah, it's a great place. And you got to come through.
You got to come through. But a visit first, okay? Visit before you move, and then you check.
And you may not come back.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I have multiple friends that's what they did. They visited, and then they like visited once, visited twice, and they said, "Hey, I'm going to stay out here for a little extended business, and then I got a place here." And I'm like, "When are you coming back?" And it's like, "Oh, for a conference." Yeah, and I'm like, exactly. "Wait, no. You go there for conferences, you know?" Yeah, so
yeah. Well, when you have a financial benefit, you have a great lifestyle, and it's also safe and secure. Yeah, it's the safest city I've ever been to.
Oh wow, yeah.
I mean, you can't really beat that, right?
Okay, you convinced me at least to visit. I'm going to do a visit here, okay?
No, definitely.
Okay, so before we wrap up, just what if we want to like follow Orange, we want to get involved, what should we look forward to next? How should we keep track of you?
Yeah. So it's quite simple, right? Our website, orangecrypto.com. Beautiful. Our URL for our wallet, orangewallet.com.
Nice.
So we have a whole ecosystem of products and services that we've already built, but we're going to continue to extend. Open up more token support, open up more support for other blockchains. So cross-chain interoperability is very big for us. Yeah. We have some products coming along the way, including a swap product. We also have some surprises that we haven't announced to our community and holders. Orangecrypto.com. And for anyone that's interested in leveraging some products within the Bitcoin space, anything related to Bitcoin meta protocols, we'd love to have them come over, and anyone that's looking to build with us.
Beautiful.
We're very collaborative. We love to build.
I'm going to swap my ERC20 for BRC20s. Okay.
There-
I got
there
a
you
couple
go.
in my wallet that I'd like to be on Bitcoin instead.
There you go. Yeah. So orangecrypto.com. And on top of that, right, at the end of the day, we're here to support what we consider the gold standard, the greatest asset class in the world, and for blockchain in general, and for Bitcoin. We see a huge opportunity and future, as we can see. I mean, there's going to be some huge announcements today at the conference.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so a lot of energy excitement that's happening, not only at the consumer level, but institutions, governments, et cetera. And we're just, my true belief is we're on the cusp of a very transformative time where traditional finance is going to get disrupted over the next few decades. And so anyone that's involved now is going to benefit greatly, whether you're a consumer or builder or whatever the case may be. But everyone that's involved now, we're still early.
Yeah.
And we can all capitalize from it. So
100%. Well, even right now, the fact that I get to talk to builders like you and everyone, the best builders are walking around.
Yeah.
And you can just go up to them and be like, hey, what's up? Hey, I want to talk about this. And they'll
Exactly.
talk to you. That will not be that way in, 10 more years. So,
Exactly.
So Damon, thank you so much.
Thank you,
This
brother.
was a lot of fun.
Appreciate it.
Orangecrypto.com.
Orangecrypto.com.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you for the next one.